We got a big audience today. Greetings and salutations, everybody. This is On Air with Walt with an amazing guest. Got Mad Mark on, and we're going to talk about everything Anunnaki. We have a new sponsor. It's Retirement Fortress. If you're worried about your retirement and when the market crashes, you want to make sure you stay retired, check out retirementfortress.net, or you can reach them at 888-999-9258. So welcome to the show, Mark.
Hey, thank you, Walt. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you. I understand you've had quite an experience and done a lot of research on everything Anunnaki.
Yeah, about 40 years I've been researching this in my spare time. Of course,
Sure.
I have a life. I had jobs and things. And
of course. And you also have your own podcast as well.
Absolutely. It's called Who Are the Aliens? The History of the Anunnaki on Planet Earth.
Okay. Well,
and it's on Spotify. It's on YouTube. I think you already have the links for all that, right?
I do. I'll add them as we after the show, post to post. Okay. We can do that. How did you get involved in all this?
Well, it started when I was about 10 years old. We were living in a town called Highland, Illinois, which is about 45 minutes to the northeast of St. Louis, Missouri. And I was, like I say, 10 years old. We were sitting down to dinner. And 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we started hearing this weird noise. And my parents had grown up in St. Louis, so they weren't interested in looking at a police car or a fire truck. But it wasn't actually like a siren. It was more of a whirring, but they just associated it with a fire truck or a police car, and they weren't interested in seeing it. And my brother and sister were too young, so I was the only one that took off out the back door. It was a small town, and seeing a police or a fire truck, that was a big deal for a 10-year-old kid. So I ran out back porch and looked up, and there was this UFO hovering right above this big tree that it separates us and the next door neighbor. We had a shared gravel driveway down the middle, and right on their side was this big tree. So, I was always a weakling as a kid, so I couldn't have done it at that time. But if it were to happen right now, I'd be able to throw a rock and hit it. That's how close it was. I got a really good look at this thing.
Wow, that's close.
Yeah. And that set me, my grandfather, my dad's dad, he was really into UFOs too. In fact, I still have some of his old books from the 60s. And so when I saw it, it didn't scare me. I just thought, hey, that's one of them things Grandpa talks about all the time, but it set me on a course to try to discover what it was, because back in the 60s, all we ever heard was, no, it's swamp gas, or it's the planet Venus. Or I know what I saw. It wasn't swamp gas. It wasn't Venus, and when it shot off, it just was like, you could tell which way it went because it made a ripple in the atmosphere. But it was so quick. It was like it was there, and then boom, it was just gone. We didn't have technology that could move that fast in the 60s. I know what I saw. And so then a few years later, in 71, we moved up to Minnesota. And that's when I found out about the Chariots of the Gods, Eric Von Daniken, his film.
Yes. I've interviewed, who was the author? I'm drawing a blank. Eric Von Daniken.
Yeah.
Out of Switzerland. Yeah. And even he was a good Catholic guy. And I love the line. He goes, well, Elijah got in a fiery chariot and went up to the space and saw God. And he goes, that's a spaceship.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I did a whole show on that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That was no God. That was the Anunnaki. But anyway, so where was I at now? We got off track.
2 questions on your original sighting. One, how big do you think the craft was?
Oh God.
Relatively speaking,
it was a typical flying saucer. It had the lights going around it. I don't know how big.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Just a typical flying saucer, just like you hear about and see in the pictures, and but yeah. So I went to see the Chariots of the Gods movie, and right then I knew I was onto something. It's like this is real. This is for sure. So then, back in the 70s, if you remember back there was no internet, there was nothing. I mean, all I had to do research on UFOs was books in the library and the occasional documentary on television, and those documentaries, they always made this whole thing sound so woo woo, and oh, it can't, and it was very disgusting for me, and discouraging. So in the 80s, then that's when I first discovered the books of Zechariah Sitchin. And I fell into that hook, line, and sinker, and read them all over a span of about 20 years. I think I concluded it sometime in the 90s, reading all those books. And yeah, that's what I talk about on my show. Is that
So he's a controversial individual, obviously, from what he's talking about. So from your research, do you think a lot of what Zachariah Sitchin wrote about, you validated it?
it's absolutely true. I
Okay.
have no doubt in my mind.
Okay.
If you look at the people who rip on him, it's all people whose careers would be destroyed if when I say when, not if, when this truth comes out.
Yeah, they
Your
have an agenda.
religious people, because all the faiths are going to be destroyed because none of that stuff is true. It's all the Anunnaki. You're going to have, just everything that has anything to do with control of the people is going to be destroyed because the Anunnaki are controlling everything. They never left. They've always been here. It's all everything. You hear people talk all the time about, oh, shadow governments, who's really telling the politicians and the president and everything what to do and who's pulling the strings around the world. It's all them. What could be more shadowy than aliens from another planet? I mean, that's what's going on. So
so they're
it.
here. Some say they're in Antarctica.
Yeah, I think there's a base in Antarctica. I think
Yep.
they got them there's several of them here on the land in the United States, in the Four Corners area out there and stuff. Area 51. They got bases all over the country and probably all over the world. I mean, who knows, but they never left. They receded into the shadows, but they never left. They receded into the shadows shortly after they nuked Sodom and Gomorrah. And then and they realized, hey, we really screwed up here. So let's try to rearrange our agenda and go at it from a different angle. And so that's why they kind of retreated into the shadows. But some of them did leave after that, but a lot of them have stayed. So
now, my understanding, they live a long time.
absolutely.
I
When
think I
when
read
our planet,
500,000 years or something.
huh?
500,000 years or something.
I don't know exactly their lifespan, but when you look at it this way, their planet, which is in our solar system, has an orbit of 3,600 years. It takes it to make one orbit. They call that a shar. When our planet does it, it's a year to go around. Okay. There are 3,600 Earth years in one shar.
Okay.
And beings, humans, if we had contact with other planets, we could verify this, but it's the truth. Beings on any given planet, their body clock synchronizes to the planet that they're living on. Okay. So every time our planet makes one revolution around the sun, we age 1 year. Theirs is exactly the same, except that it takes their planet 3,600 Earth years to make one orbit around the sun. So they only age 1 year in their bodies every 3,600 years.
One
So
of their
these
years.
beings live freaking forever. Okay.
Wow.
To us, they seem eternal because they age. So the original Anunnaki who came here to this planet 450,000 years ago and kicked off mankind are probably still alive. And I know that's incredibly hard to believe, and people say too, well, if they retreated into the shadows after they nuked Sodom and Gomorrah, why are they waiting so long to make themselves known again? Well, when you figure for them, it's only been a year since they nuked Sodom and Gomorrah, so by their body clock, it's only been a year. So that's no time to go.
If you take 400,000 divided by
and the only thing I don't know is how many. Like if you ask a human, or somebody a doctor, somebody who deals with health and whatnot, they'll say, well, the human lifespan is about 80 years. That's what I don't know about them. What is their, how many shars do they live? That's what I don't know. So I've never seen anything in the ancient texts but it's a possibility that the original Anunnaki who came here 450 years ago are still alive. And if not, their kids definitely are. Marduk and, Inanna Ishtar, a lot of those folks are probably still alive.
More than likely. Now, what's the name of their planet?
Nibiru.
Okay.
Nibiru, I believe, spelling Nibiru. Yeah.
And some say it's going to be here prior to between 2027 and 2030 or something.
I doubt it.
Some say,
I can't say for sure because, the thing of it is nobody knows for sure when the last time it came by. So you can't really do the math until you know a date to start from. But we do know that it was the cause of the Great Flood. So if you do the math from the Great Flood on, and again, we don't, we only have an approximated date for the Great Flood. We don't know it down to the year. But if you do the math, I think it's gonna be another 1,000 years before that planet comes by again.
So
and it's not. I get kind of irritated with some of these people who are waiting. Oh, I can't wait for Nibiru. It's going to be so fantastic when it comes. I got news for you. Every time that thing comes by close to Earth, it's like 10 times the size of our planet.
Okay.
So the gravitational pull on Earth is immense when that thing comes past. It causes volcanoes to erupt. It causes flooding. It causes earthquakes. The whole planet is just in upheaval. So it's not really something to, yeah, sure, it'd be cool to see. It'd be cool to all this, but the Earth is just turned topsy-turvy every time it comes by.
It's
not a nice experience.
Yeah, it's no picnic. So let me go back. You mentioned if you want to go down that road now, Sodom and Gomorrah. What is your take on Sodom and Gomorrah? Which, of course, in the Bible, they talked about they turned to salt because they were doing whatever. And
yeah, there's a lot of things in the Bible. What happened? Well, we haven't really gotten into the names of the different Anunnaki and their roles in all this yet, but one of the main brothers who came here originally, his name was Enki. He had a son by the name of Marduk. And at the time Sodom and Gomorrah was happening, Marduk was and he's also known as Amun-Ra to the Egyptians. And we've all heard of Amun-Ra, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's Marduk. Okay. He was in a struggle. He had it in the head that these are very warrior-like people. I have to make that clear. They fight against each other constantly. And his clan, the Enkiites and Lilites, the other clan, are constantly fighting with each other for territory and all kinds of things. And Marduk got it in his head that he was somehow the supreme Goomba of Earth. He was the supreme. He's the one where you hear the quote in the Bible, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." That's Marduk talking. Okay. He was the great, in his mind, he was the absolute, the greatest of all the gods. And you will not worship anyone but me. So he was in a struggle at the time of just prior to Sodom and Gomorrah to take over and to make this big push to be the greatest god on earth. And to do that, he needed to take over. They had a spaceport at that time in the Sinai Peninsula, and he wanted to and the Enkiites controlled it. So Marduk was trying to make a push to get enough converts out of the humans to be able to move in with armies and take over the spaceport in the Sinai. And he was gathering all of his followers to do this in Sodom and Gomorrah. That's where they were all hiding out. Well, when the Enki clan found out about it, they sent emissaries, as you read in the Bible. The angels were sent in to check out and see how many sinners. It's all BS. They went there. They sent their spies in to try to find out if it was in fact true that Marduk, all of his followers, were congregating in Sodom and Gomorrah. When they found out that, yes, that was true, they brought in the 7 deadly weapons, which were actually nuclear weapons, smuggled them in from Nibiru, and they nuked Sodom and Gomorrah. That's what that was all about.
I know there's in the Sahara Desert, for example, and other places, There's remnants in Egypt as well. There is definitely
Absolutely.
remnants from
Radiation.
way, 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 way back of nuclear
Yep. Yep.
explosions.
That's all from this.
Yeah.
And they also had weapons that weren't quite nuclear, but they shot, they gave off great radiation. Those were the ones that you find the radiation around the pyramids. That was from the other weapons, not the nukes. The nukes did not go off near Egypt. They went off in Sodom and Gomorrah, which, you know, is in Israel, and then the spaceport in the Sinai. But what happened was, what they weren't counting on, of course, most of the Anunnaki at that time were in Sumer, which is now Iran and Iraq. When they dropped those bombs, the evil wind, which is nuclear fallout, as we all know now, was blowing. The wind was blowing towards that would be the east, and all of that radiation just went right over and wiped out their whole base of operations in Sumer. So that was the end of Sumeria, basically. So
Okay.
they dropped the bombs to try to stop Marduk, and in the meantime, they ended up wiping themselves out as well. So
mission was kind of accomplished.
mission accomplished, but they also destroyed themselves. It's like, you know, cutting off your nose to spite your face, you know. Absolutely.
Now, just offshoot, we don't have to go there. Aren't there some Hindu scribes that talk about this in the Vimanas and stuff?
Yeah, the Vedas, all that stuff. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And
the Sumerian texts. Yeah.
The Hindu faith is definitely. I believe if I had to pick a religion, you know, I'm not going to do that. But if I was somehow forced into picking a religion on this planet that I had to worship, it would be either the Hinduism or the Buddhism, one of the two.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how does Buddhism come into play?
It's about the same as Hinduism, really. I mean, they're different, but it's kind of the same. They try to help you understand your body and your chakras and how to lead a better life, and the power of the mind, what I like to call the secret, which I've got some upcoming shows about that will be coming on in the next couple months. The secret. They're just faiths that try to help you, instead of trying to get you down on your knees that you're a terrible person and you're born a sinner and you have to, you know, do this and do that in order to get to heaven. It's like, oh, come on. You know, I mean, it's people have been believing that lie for 2,000 years, and it's time to wake up. See here, I think you can see it on my shirt. Time to wake up. Oh,
there you go. Wake up. Okay. That's good. So I know they had two brothers. You mentioned one, which is Enki, which is the god of water, wisdom, and creation, and the other one was Enlil, god of air and authority.
Enlil, yeah, Enlil, and
right.
Yes, they were half brothers.
A god of air and authority. Yes, and they didn't get along.
Nope. It all had to do with the succession of Nibiru. Anu is the leader of Nibiru, at least as far as we know. He still is, and he had a son. His first son was Enki. But Enki, now you have to understand their way of doing things. It's totally different than ours. It's all about, okay, the males on Nibiru are allowed to have, of course, wives. They can have more than one. And they also have concubines, consorts. These are some horny dudes. Okay. They will literally, I mean,
it sounds like Solomon. He had a bunch of, I mean,
it's the same deal.
He's a busy guy.
Yep, he was. They are very sexually active people, and so Enki's mother was one of Anu's concubines. Okay, but he was the firstborn. So then, however many years later, Enlil is born, but his mother was actually Anu's wife, which means that his birth takes significance over Enki's because his mother was royal. Okay.
Origin,
whereas Enki's was a concubine, his mom. Okay. So then from that point on, Enlil was now the one in line to take the throne. Okay. And because of that one reason, these two brothers absolutely hated each other. Enki was constantly trying to do things to usurp the title away from Enlil. And it goes back to their personalities. Okay, they're two. I kind of liken it to, I don't know if he'll ever see this show or not, but my brother. Okay, my brother and I, it's the same type of deal. We're not half brothers, but we are completely different. I mean, we couldn't be more different. Night
I
and
have a
day,
sister who's the
completely.
same way. We're completely different. I mean,
Right.
on every single level.
Absolutely. We
Even
don't
I'm
we don't
right-handed, she's
agree on a
left-handed. I
damn
mean, the
thing.
whole 9 yards. Yep.
Yep. And it's the same way with Enlil and Enki. They just constantly, in the Bible, when the great flood was coming and the Anunnaki knew it, Enlil said, I'm gonna let all the humans be destroyed. I've had enough of this. We never should have created them in the first place. I want them all wiped out. Enki was the one who created us, so he had the love for us, so he stepped in and contacted Ziasudra, Ignapishtim, however you want to say it. It all boils down to the Noah character in the Bible, and informed him what was going on. You got to build a boat. He saved humanity. Every time. And Lil was a very authoritarian person. Everything by the book. Do it my way. I don't take no crap. Whatever I say goes. And Enki was just the opposite. He was kind of the, hey, I'm all about peace and love, man. We got to save these people. We got to help these people. He's our benefactor. He not only created us, but he's always got our back. Whereas in Lil was, wipe them out. Heck, hell with them. We don't need them people, And so two completely opposite personalities. And you can see why they're constantly butting heads. I mean, just all the time.
And here we are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here we are. Those books in the Bible, especially the first 6 books or whatever,
The
the
Torah.
Torah.
Yep.
Yeah. They make no sense as they're written. What does God have multiple personality disorder, or what's the deal? Because one minute he says one thing, next minute he then another thing, and he's back to the other. One minute he's angry, the next minute he's kind of happy go lucky. It don't make any sense. But when you read it from all those stories were ripped off from the ancient Sumerian texts. They talk about all this same stuff: the flood, the creation of mankind, the Tower of Babel. It's all in the ancient Sumerian text, but it's written from the many gods perspective, because that's what really happened. There were many Anunnaki on the planet. Okay. So then Marduk takes over the world after the bombing of Sodom and Gomorrah. He becomes the grand poopah and right away rewrites all the religious texts to revolve around just one God. And we've been at that point ever since. Everything is just one God. And the other thing is, people need to understand, okay, this is very important. There is a massive difference between the creator of the universe and these Anunnaki gods. Okay, they're not gods. We call them the gods because they called themselves the gods, but they are not gods. Okay, the creator of the universe is still the creator of the universe. That doesn't change. Okay, and I got to make that clear because people get confused. Oh, so my brother can't even grasp this. I told him a million times, and he goes, "So you're saying these aliens created you?" No, that's not what I'm saying. They were just ancient astronauts from another planet that came here in search of gold to save their own planet, and there was a labor shortage. Their workers were getting tired. We got to come up with another way to mine this gold because it's very hard work. And they created humans as a slave race to do the work for them. And that is how we came about. And that's the whole story.
Right. I've heard that one. And I know some believe that a lot of gold, I mean, pick a big number.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They got to save their planet is like 10 times bigger than Earth. It's massive. Okay. And their atmosphere, again, I said before, they're a warrior race. They fight all the time. In their past, there was a lot of nuclear wars on Nibiru. They were fighting all the time. Well, they destroyed their atmosphere. So now they've got to find a way to repair it. And one way to do that is to suspend gold particles into the atmosphere, which will hold the atmosphere in from escaping, because they were on the verge of extinction.
So that's what was it was a survival thing.
Right. Absolutely. They needed the gold. And as far as we know, there are only 2 places in our solar system to get gold: here and the asteroid belt. And it's a hell of a lot easier to get it here than it is to try to mine asteroids, even for a race with their advanced technology. So.
And they found it here, and why argue with success?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. Okay, so gold's the big deal.
Yeah. Why do you think it's important to us? It's not the rarest mineral or the rarest, whatever on the planet. There's other things that are more rare than gold. Why is gold so damn important to us? Because it was important to the gods. End of story.
So I know that oil and water are regenerative on this planet. Do you believe gold is?
Boy, I've never really thought about that.
Okay,
I don't know.
curious.
I don't think
Or
so.
is it just a
It's a
finite
it's a
amount?
mineral, but who knows?
Yeah. So
But I
okay.
agree with you about the oil. That's definitely replenished. That's like
Yeah.
the engine oil for planet Earth is petroleum.
Yeah,
That's
but yeah, oil and
it
water are
constantly
all
comes back.
regenerative. I
Yep.
know that I think as a crack up, on a side note, the Rockefellers obviously was very involved in oil back in the day, and they needed to create a scarcity, so they called it fossil fuels, which is,
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, it's
far
amazing how that crap works, isn't it? We've been
yeah,
lied to about everything our
yeah,
entire existence. It's
it's
all a
not
lie.
fossil fuels.
It's incredible. Yeah,
Yep,
you can't believe anything anymore.
pretty
Don't,
much.
I wanted to say this too. Don't even believe me. Don't believe what I'm telling you. Go and read this stuff for yourself. There are tons of websites that have translated the ancient Sumerian texts into English or whatever language you speak. You can go in there and read them for yourself, but be prepared because these people wrote about everything in their society that was important to them. So it's not like it's all about the Anunnaki. They have recipes in there. They got government stuff in there. They got crop information in there. It's a long, long read because they wrote about everything that was important to them. So I have opted to let Mr. Sitchin do the sifting through the important things for me, and so I just read his books. But all this stuff is online. His books obviously are available. You don't have to believe what I'm saying. Go check it all out for yourselves. It's all out there. The truth is out there. So, and as Jesus, Yeshua, was quoted in the Bible as saying, the truth will set you free. And that is what I'm trying to do with my show. So,
So to sort of reduce it down, you think Sitchin stuff would be a good place to start in
I
terms of
would. Why
his
not start from
perspective
the
and
horse's
interpretation of
mouth?
what's going on with the
Yeah.
Sumerian texts?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's definitely the best place to start.
Okay, and I'm sure you've done a bunch of shows on that regard?
Yeah,
Of that
that's what my show is.
yeah,
My
okay.
first 9 or 10 episodes, we were talking about. I tell my viewers, I'm bringing this to you as a teacher, but also as a student, because I haven't looked at these books since the 90s. It's not like I reread them and reread them. I read them once back in the 80s and 90s. I put them on the shelf and I've kind of just let it go. And so now on the show, what I'm doing is I'm rereading the books and talking about it on the show and giving the information, and we're learning together this whole story. And I've gone through the first. I've done 2 of his books now, and we just completed season 1. So season 2, we'll do another couple books.
All right, stay tuned.
Oh yeah, lots more to come. We've
That's
barely
awesome.
cracked the surface.
Now, is Sitchin still alive?
No, he passed away several years ago.
Okay, so not too long ago. Okay, well, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
unfortunately.
Yeah, well, that happens.
Oh yeah.
So I know I have a good friend who thinks Nibiru is coming and it's going to be, another flood and all that jazz whenever it's
Oh,
coming.
it will, but I don't think it's coming in my lifetime. I
Right,
think
so
there'll be
it's
another 1,000 years
yeah,
or
it's
so.
not if, it's just when.
I don't have all the statistics in front of me, but I did the math
Right.
from the Great Flood. Like I said, if you kind of do the math and figure it out, I don't think
Not
it's going
yet.
to be in my lifetime, unfortunately. Well,
Yeah.
actually, I'm going to say fortunately, because I don't want all that destruction. It would be cool to see it, that'd be awesome, but I don't want to have the whole planet destroyed. But it gets pretty nasty when Nibiru passes by.
Well, given its gravitational pull and all of that, it makes sense.
Absolutely. Now, some
So
people say, you were talking before about where their bases are. Some
yes,
people say they have a base on the dark side of the moon. So there
My
you go.
understanding, the dark side of the moon is a very, 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 very busy place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I believe they're up there. I think that's why we haven't been back up there. They told us, hey, it's like that one. There's a passage in the Bible, and of course, it's God saying it in the Bible, but in reality, it was Enlil saying it. And I don't know the exact words, but it was something on the order of, we gave Earth to the humans. Our territory is space. You do not come up here. You stay on Earth, basically.
Well, and then,
Earth is the domain of humanity. The gods belong in the, and so that could have been what happened. We went up there to the moon and they said, nope, get the hell out of here. Get your ass back on Earth where you belong. And we haven't been back,
well, yeah, but the
so
moon wasn't there originally. It was put there. It's
that's
not a,
what some people say. I don't know. I've never looked into. I
oh,
mean,
okay.
if you look at the Nibiru, the ancient Sumerian texts, they have a whole explanation for our entire solar system, the whole creation epic, how Earth got where it is because it wasn't here originally, how all that stuff. And they don't say anything about, I mean, they explain the moon and its development at that time, how it got put there. They don't talk about it coming in later. So I don't know where that theory comes from. I've never read anything about that, but I've heard that. I've heard that
Well,
some
my
people think
understanding is the moon really helped. For example, the ebb and flows of the tides and stuff like that, because it wasn't happening prior to. Our atmosphere was kind of different.
Yeah,
You
like I
know,
say, I've heard that. I don't know anything about that, but
yeah.
I've heard that theory.
But yeah, the moon, the backside of the moon is. I've heard once. I think it was David Wilcock said it's very busy. It's as busy as Manhattan.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. It'd be great to see it.
It's odd that the orbit of it, you never see the back.
You never see the back.
You only
Yeah.
see the
Yeah.
front. It's
So who
really
knows?
interesting.
Could
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, and then if we did go to the moon, rumor has it Neil Armstrong said the Dracos were watching at the rim of the crater they were at, and they said, "Well, you only got 4 or 5 visits, and you're on your own."
Yeah.
Back
I don't know
again.
anything about that. Like I say, all I do is stick to the Sumerian texts. If it's not in those texts, I don't believe in it. I really don't, and I hear about all these different, like you say, Dracos, what is it? Pallades, all these
Palladians.
different things.
Well, there's the
It's,
Dracos,
it,
there's the Palladians, there's the Phoenicians.
yeah. And
in
none of
Venus.
that is in the ancient Sumerian text. So I got to believe if they really existed, the Sumerians would have written about them because they would have had to have had interaction with these Anunnaki gods. So I'm not saying those other beings don't exist, but I've never seen any actual documented written proof of it. So we'll just leave it at that.
Well, I mean, it's a pretty solid source, relatively speaking, because it's was written a long time ago, and
it's the oldest text. The ancient Sumerian texts are the oldest writings on planet Earth. Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go.
Way, way before the Bible.
Of
Thousands
course.
of years. Yeah.
Of course.
Yep.
I think I read somebody says that even Eve eating the apple, the snake was a reptilian. But
that whole story is BS. That's not what happened. Not at all. The Garden of Eden was actually the Eden facility. It was a human reproduction and oh God, what's that word I'm looking for? Research facility.
Okay.
And it was not gorgeous and beautiful and everybody's dancing around. Oh, isn't this great? No, it was like a hospital. It was a research facility. And that is where the humans were created at. Yes, absolutely. And the original humans that they created were, what is it? The mule, I think. I don't have it in front of me here, but I think it's the mule that can't reproduce on its own because it's sterile because it's not
a hybrid.
Yeah, because it's a hybrid. The
Yeah.
original humans were that way also. We could not reproduce. So every time they wanted another human being, they had to do all the shit in the lab and, get all that stuff. And then they had to have Anunnaki birth mothers come and carry it for 9 months or whatever. And it was a long, tedious process. Well, what finally happened then was Enki was getting tired of it. He was like, I don't want to keep, but we got to give these humans the ability to reproduce on their own. Yeah, it's a lot of work. So he snuck in again behind Enlil's back because Enlil was dead set against this. He went in and started creating humans who did have the ability to reproduce. So eventually these humans had the knowing that they talk about in the Bible. It wasn't the knowledge they had, the tree of knowledge and the snake and the apple. No, what happened there was Enki went behind Enlil's back and gave human beings the ability to reproduce. That's what actually happened in the Eden facility.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. It's easier.
Yep, absolutely. The whole thing makes sense once you know the truth. We've been lied to for 3,000 years. It's time to wake up and realize what is really going on.
At least, right? Mm-hmm. So the subtext of this show is wake up.
Wake up. Let's get to it.
So you got merch
fooled around site? Long enough.
Huh? You have merch on your site? You sell merchandise?
I have a t-shirt that people can order through Amazon, but I'm not real thrilled with it, and I'm not thrilled with Amazon because they don't ever pay me for my portion of the proceeds. They keep saying I don't have the right bank information, and it's the only bank information I've got. So the money just sits there. I never get my share of it. So I've actually stopped even promoting the shirts. When everything, like I say, we talked about this before we went on today. In the last 2 weeks, my social media is exploding in popularity. Eventually, it's going to get to the point where I have a place that I have in mind down in St. Louis that I'm going to have actually take over my shirts. But I've talked with them on the phone, and according to them, I have to sell, what is it, 50 a month or 50 a week? I got it all written down someplace. Okay. And at the time I talked, I'd have to sell that many shirts to keep the contract running or whatever. And then they mail them out to people. And it's one of them. I don't know what they call it. But anyway, I'm not at that point yet where I can sell that many, so that's why I decided to go through Amazon. But once this all explodes, which it's heading down as my uncle used to say, the cream is rising, things are starting to pop now. So eventually I will move everything over to this other company, and then I'll start talking about the shirts again. But right now I'm not making any money on them, so I don't give a damn if you buy them or not. So, yeah.
Well, it's kind of like the cart thing, is it? You gotta make sales somehow to make it happen. So,
yeah.
Hope you figure it out.
Amazon, where's my money?
Show me the money.
Yeah, they owe me.
So, Sitchin and the Sumerian texts are your Genesis. Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It's the only thing that's true.
And how did you originally find them? Maybe did you find them in the library?
I was thinking about that last night in the shower. I think about all kinds of strange things when I'm in the shower. And I was thinking about that. How did I ever find him? It must have been in a bookstore. Maybe they had a display or something. I might have seen it and said, hey, that looks good. I remember at the time in the late 70s and early 80s, my favorite things to read was anything by Stephen King. He was I just love Stephen King novels. I read everything he ever wrote. So that's where I was at that point. But I might have seen a display. Hey, learn the truth about, because anything that had to do with aliens, I wanted to know about it, And so I might have seen a display that talked about it, and hey, that'd be interesting. And once I read that first book, I was just hooked. I mean, I knew what I was reading was absolutely true. And, I was a Christian at that time, and I know the reaction when a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew or any of them other people hear what I'm talking about. Right away, it's like, no, that can't possibly, because I went through this. Okay. I'm reading this stuff and I'm like, my God, it makes so much sense. I mean, I can see but it goes against everything I've ever been taught. Oh my God, it can't be. But the more you read and the more you read, and it's like, oh my God. Now because, as a young boy, I was, like I say, raised a Christian, and we went to church regularly. And I was always a very inquisitive kid. I wanted to know, why doesn't this make sense? And what actually happened here? And I'd always get the same answer from all the church people that I'd talk to. You have to have faith. The Lord works in strange ways. Everything. It's like, oh my God, those kind of explanations don't work for someone like me. I'm from Missouri. Show me. You got to show. I need proof. You know,
Show me state.
yeah, nothing else is faith BS. I need it on paper. Show me the truth.
Well,
And so, you know, I had to walk away from it because it's not true. We've been lied to
well,
for
it's
over
funny.
two,
I
three
mean,
thousand years.
in the United States, you know, you've got the Presbyterians and the Baptists and the Methodists and all this jazz. And my joke is, okay, you have all these different faiths. How many Jesuses are there?
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's so ridiculous. If you were you have to try to think of this from a logical perspective. If you were the creator of the universe, do you know how vast that is? Okay.
Big job.
Why would you need people on one little dust ball way down in the corner to worship you? And even if you did, even if that's what you wanted, you would come down and say, all right, I want everybody on the same page. This is how you're going to worship me. You're going to do this at this point, that at that point, everybody together, all the same, because you would know in advance that if you went to one place and said, okay, I want you to do it this way, and then you came over here and said, I want you to do it like this, and you created all these different religions, that it would lead to wars, destruction, profiling, all these negative things, because all these different religions, as it is now, would all be willing to fight and die because their God has to be the top God, you know? So why would you come down as the creator of the universe and cause all this chaos, knowing in advance, because we all agree that the creator of the universe is omnipotent, right? He knows everything before it happens. You would know what was going to happen. Why would you want to cause all this chaos in your name? That's absolutely asinine. I mean,
Well,
there's just,
and the byline supposedly is God is love, right?
yeah, absolutely. And I believe that.
Is that loving?
Yeah, it's not loving. In fact, it's the opposite of loving. It's trying to cause a problem, is what it, if that's what he did, that's what it did. It's causing a big freaking problem. So, you know, yeah, there's just no way. It's just not true. I'm sorry. It's not. It is
Well,
what it is. We've been lied to for a long, long time, and it's time to snap out of it and wake up.
I think we've been lied to about a lot of things.
A lot of things. Absolutely. Absolutely. The list goes on and on.
Yeah, it does. So, what do you think's I don't know, the Sumerian texts and Stitchin, I mean, is there anything that you can elaborate on, or you think stuff's going to happen down the road, or what was your one of your bigger takeaways that you haven't mentioned?
Oh God, I can't really. Well, what's going to happen down the road? Well, hopefully people are going to wake up. You know, I think once the human race realizes what is actually its true history, you know, I think that a lot of things on this planet are going to start to change. But as far as you know, I'm not really sure how to answer that.
Because you know, it's out there, and I agree with you. You know, you've got all these different religious entities, and everybody says theirs is the best.
Well, isn't it convenient? It's so convenient that the true God of the planet Earth is the one where you were born, right? I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. I was raised as a Christian, Episcopalian, and by God, that's the true God. Isn't that convenient? And all
yes.
these other places around the world are wrong, because when I was birthed, my ass plopped down in St. Louis, Missouri, and so that is where the real God. You got it's that way all over the world.
No, you're right. I mean, you're right. If depending where you've been, you're going to be a Muslim, you're going to be a Catholic, you're going to be a Christian, you're going to be a
Absolutely.
Jew.
And it all comes back to where
all-
your ass
yes,
flopped on the day
right.
you were born.
That's very, very
That's
true.
the truth. It's like,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
very true.
when we're born, we're given I got shows coming up where I talk about all this. We're given all these labels. You know, I mean, it's nowadays we have the ability to know the sex of our child before it's born. But in our day, when you and I were born, it was a totally different ball game. You didn't know until it came out what the sex of the kid was going to be. So you might not have a name for it right away. You know, that might be a day later or 2 days after birth. So back at that time, for the first day or two, usually after you were born, you had no labels. When you came into this earth and the day you were born, you had no labels. And from the minute that you're born, all of a sudden, somebody's throwing labels at you. You're a Christian, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you're a this, you're a that, you're a that, whether we want them or not. And we probably don't want them, but right away, you are this, you are that. Here's your name. Here's your labels. When you're 5 years old, start going to school and start being, it's like that song, the Wall by Pink Floyd. All we are is just another brick in the wall. Make sure you contribute to society, get out there, get a job, do this, blah, 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 blah. It's all pre-programmed BS. And it's just, why can't we just be? You know what I mean? Why do we need to have all these labels? Can't we just exist and get along and love each other? We don't need all these labels. It's ridiculous.
Well, what was it? Rodney King back in the day, one of the first false flags I think we got. Can't we all just get along?
Yeah, absolutely. Why can't we? Absolutely. That's what we need. We need more love and less, everybody, the religions, the governments, everybody is constantly trying to divide us and have us hating each other. We're seeing it right now in this country between the Republicans and the Democrats. Every time you turn around, oh, look what that SOB did. Oh, look what over here they're doing. Constantly getting us to hate each other. And that's what they want. They want conquer and divide. Yeah, the Anunnaki want us to be at each other's throats on every issue all the time. Because it's like the Wizard of Oz. If your focus is over here on what's going on, you're not seeing the guy behind the curtain that's really pulling the strings and is making off with all the money, and you're over here fighting for crumbs. It's total insanity. Wake up.
They tell you don't pay attention to the guy behind the curtain.
Right. You're not paying any attention because your focus is over here. It's like all the different things in our lives that they keep bombarding us with on a daily basis. Politics, sports. You got to watch all your team's games. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to work a job, work 2 jobs, go, focus, because they don't want you to have the time to stop and actually look into the crap you believe in. They don't, if you have time on your hands, you might actually pick up the Bible. How many people are Christians and yet they've never read? I've read that book from cover to cover twice. And they say that nothing will make you an atheist quicker than actually reading what you supposedly believe in, because you start reading this stuff and it just makes no sense, and then you read the Sumerian texts and it makes perfect sense. So it's like, well, but they're constantly looking at ways to rip us apart and divide us and have us at each other's throats. And it's ridiculous. Absolutely. We need more love, people. Love thy neighbor.
Well, then you have to finish the sentence, love thy neighbor as thyself.
Absolutely.
Which means you, for starters, have to love yourself.
Well, why wouldn't you? We're God. We're all gods. That's exactly what we are. We are all, and I have a show on that topic coming up here in about a month. Absolutely. That's what The Secret's all about. We are all a piece of the universe, and therefore we all have the universal power within us, and we are all God. Absolutely. So why would you hate another person? Because all they are basically is another piece of you. We're all connected. Everybody's connected. So, and I have a big show coming up about racism too, my theory on all that. And it all goes back to the same thing. Racism is ridiculous. Hating another piece of yourself because it's a different color. If you woke up one day and your hand was a different color than the rest of your body, would you cut it off because you don't like the way it looks? No, you need it to function. We need each other to function on this planet, people. Wake up. Stop fighting each other. It's ridiculous.
It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of work.
Oh, it is. It is a lot of work. I'm in the process right now of making what I call redux episodes of my earlier programs. Before I had the green screen and I was very I didn't know a lot about the different technologies of making a show. So my first few shows, I had a sheet thrown over a pole behind me. I mean, it just looked awful. They just looked terrible. So I'm in the process of going in and re-recording.
The one thing right is you just started, right?
Right. Yeah, I just started. I didn't know what I was doing.
You can't, my cliche phrase is you can't steer a parked car, right? You get a Ferrari roaring in the driveway, but unless you get on the road and put it in drive, you're not going to go anywhere. And it doesn't matter whether you hit a car or hit a curb or hit a signpost, make a few adjustments. And before you know it, you're jamming down the road.
Absolutely. Yeah. The show is starting to take off after what? I've been doing this for 9 months, something like that.
That's pretty fast.
Really? Because I've been wondering,
Mark,
where the hell is everybody? I've been out there, 25 episodes, talking, pounding, yelling, and screaming, and I just wasn't really But in the last 2 weeks, things are really starting to take off now.
Yeah,
I mean, I've got a viral video on TikTok, 200,000 plays. People are talking and it's like I from the very beginning, I told my wife, I know this is good. I know this is valid information. I know people will be into it. How do I get it out to them so that they know it exists? So I did all the social media. I'm doing all this stuff. And it was just basically laying there. I mean, nothing was really popping. And now, like I say, for the last 2 weeks, it has just exploded. It's incredible. I'm having the time of my life all of a sudden. It's like, yeah, let's go.
Well, you've laid the foundation and now it's paying off. And that's how my producer found you, was on TikTok. He's a big
no, LinkedIn. He found me on LinkedIn.
Oh, LinkedIn? Okay.
Absolutely.
He spends a lot of time with TikTok as well. So
yeah.
LinkedIn's another interesting place. Yep. Okay. Yeah. But you got to lay the foundation and catch a wide net, and here we are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a long time ago. I really was aware of, again, the texts and Sitchin. I mean, Guy, I did some shows back in the day. Guy, it's been at least probably 10 years. So I'm going to have to go back and check those things out.
They're very interesting. I'll tell you, once you start one, you can't put it down. The next book I'm going to start talking about on season 2, which will be coming up at some point in January, is The Lost Book of Enki. And that is where he sat down with a scribe and went through his entire existence on planet Earth and told this scribe from his point of view. A lot of what we read is from the human's point of view in those texts, but not all of it, but a lot of it is. Well, this book is everything that Enki did and what he thought and what he saw and what all happened from his point of view. And that's a very interesting book too. So
is that from the Sumerian text?
Yep, absolutely.
Oh,
absolutely. It's called The Lost Book of Enki. Yep.
Oh my goodness.
And that's where I'm heading in January on the show. Wow. We're going to be heading into that.
Okay. Well, may have to have you back and talk more about that once you get all that under your belt.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always something new to talk about. Is there any aspects of all this from the very beginning that you wanted more information about or curious about?
What's just popped in my mind, and you've talked about it, but the not questions of our origins, but who's in charge? Somebody's running the show.
They are. They still are.
And the answer is, of course, they are. And I know,
particularly Marduk.
Pardon?
Particularly Marduk. I know he's still the grand poopah that's running the show. He's in charge of everything. He's a very narcissistic entity, being, whatever you want to call him. He likes to be in charge of everything. So that's what's going on now. They say that there is a change of guard coming, and maybe that's what all this is about. You keep hearing these government whistleblowers and different people that are supposedly in the know that they believe that something's going to be popping here in the next 2 to 3 years or so. That I keep hearing 2027 is when we're going to hear about they're actually going to come clean about all this. And, who knows? Maybe I just lost my train of thought. What was your question again?
Well, it's interesting. 2027 is still during the term of our current president.
Right. Oh, I'm sure he knows all about this. They all know all. They're told not to talk about it, and they don't talk about it. But I'm sure that the president and the leaders of every country on earth know about this.
They're not talking about it, but it's in the mix.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
They say that something's coming. And that's what I was talking about. Yes. So they say something's coming. Maybe what it is the Anunnaki change of guard. Marduk's been ruler now for several thousand years. It's time for a new one to step in and take charge. Right. We're entering the age of Aquarius now. Marduk's age, because that whole thing in his mind, he demanded to be in charge because he said these people are really into astrology. I don't know much about astrology because it never interested me. Stars and big, I just don't care. But they're really into it. Okay, the Anunnaki are,
Okay.
and that is why Marduk believed it was his time to rule, because it was his astrological sign. But
Right. New
now
age.
we're
Yep.
coming into the age of Aquarius. That's going
Yes.
to be a whole new, and the
Yes.
rumor is, what I've heard is Inanna Ishtar, it's a woman, a female Anunnaki, is the one who's going to
Interesting.
take over. I can't wait if that's the truth. I would love that.
That'd be interesting.
We need more women leaders. Let's get one in there and she'll get the job done.
You think so? Okay.
Absolutely. I love her. She is I nicknamed her the warrior princess because she reminds me so damn much of Xena. But yeah, Inanna Ishtar, I'm on board. Let's go. Let's get this done.
Well, something has to change.
Yeah, the world can't go on like this. All these wars and I mean, the Anunnaki have used our planet from day one basically as their own personal risk board game, and it's that shit's got to stop. It's got to stop. The average human being wants food on the table, love, a roof over their heads, a little money to set aside for maybe a vacation to relax, just the basic things, and we don't want war. Nobody wants a war. The only people who want wars are the governments and the leaders, who I believe are all having their strings pulled like puppets by the Anunnaki, because the Anunnaki love to fight each other. So it all goes back to that. They're the ones that want the wars. I don't think the average human being really wants war
No,
at
I
any point.
totally agree with you. I mean, look, let's turn it late 60s. What was the phrase? Make love, not war.
Absolutely. If it feels good, do it, man. I mean, that's it. Don't need war. John Lennon said it. War is over if you want it. Remember that?
That's true.
Absolutely. If
Yeah,
everybody just, the Monkees, one of my all-time favorite bands, had a song on their 1968 album, The Birds, the Bees, and the Monkeys. It was the last song on side 2. It's called Zor and Zam. I highly suggest everyone listen to that track. It's all about the king of Zor. He called for a war, and the king of Zam, he answered. They met on the battlefield, and basically the song goes all about how they prepared overnight, and the next day they were supposed to meet. And basically what happened was they gave a war and nobody came. Nobody showed up to fight the war. We
wow,
need more of
no
that.
participants. Wow.
Yep. Just say, screw it. We're not fighting. We're done. We're walking away.
The Monkees were amazing.
Mm-hmm. They were.
That's
it was
funny.
a different time in the 60s.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, very much so, until the Vietnam War hit and away we went.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't miss it. I have missed it for the world, though. It was a great time to be alive. I really enjoyed the 60s. Definitely.
I'm sure you did.
Well, I was a kid, but I mean, kids are going to have fun no matter what,
Yeah, so was I.
But yeah, I loved the 60s and some great music from back in those days.
Yes, and some of those bands are, yeah, it was fun. The 60s, yep, 70s and 80s weren't bad either. But yep, that I agree with you, 100%.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, we've gone about an hour, and I'm looking forward to catching up with your revamped shows, your original shows.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, like I say, I'm calling them Redux episodes. They're the ones I'm re-recording because it's the same show. It's the same information. It's just that now you got the green screen. Everything looks better. I'm wearing these hats now. I think I look better on camera. I'm more comfortable with it. So I'm just redoing the first.
A little more refined.
Huh? Yeah,
a little more
more refined, absolutely, more easygoing with the. I know what I'm doing now. It's a little. It's so I'm just redoing them and still at the same time cranking out new episodes. So.
Oh, so you're redoing your other ones, and then at the same time, so that's obviously old content, and you're creating new content.
Oh yeah, I've got. Okay. I'm like 4 episodes ahead, so. I've got an episode coming out on November 15th that's already done. I have an episode coming out on the 29th that's already done. I've got December 13th and December. I do a new show every 2 weeks. on December 27th. So my next 4 shows are all done, and now I got to begin work on season 2, The Lost Book of Enki. That's the next thing we're going to get into.
Lost Book of Enki. Wow, that's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, the next show I've got coming out on the 15th, the topic is basically a lot of what we talked about earlier about exposing religions as being a lie. And that's what that show is all about. And the one after that is about my theories on racism, how it got started. And, you know, you can't get rid of it. We need to get rid of it. But you can't get rid of something until you understand where it came from and how it got here in the first place. Did you know that white folks like us are the babies on this planet, the newest race on the planet, or the newest color, whatever it's called? We're the newest ones. And why all of a sudden right around the 1400s did certain white people in Europe start thinking they were the master race? You know, why? How did that happen? Where did that come from? You know, we're the newest ones on the planet, and yet we're somehow better than everybody else. So this show goes into all that, and you're not going to want to miss it, because that's the show that's going to put this whole thing on the map.
Let the cat out of the bag of who the original race was? And I know, but
no.
Okay.
Watch the show. This is a show you're not going to want to miss.
Ourselves.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then the next 2 shows after that are all about the secret, the universal power that is in every one of us, how to use it, how to tap into it. It's absolutely true, I assure you. And so all 4 of those episodes, those
now,
next 4 are going to be
10
very
years
interesting.
ago, there was a show or a movie or a thing about the secret. So
yeah, that's where I first found out about it. I watched that movie.
Yes.
And I started crying. And my wife says, "What is wrong?" And I says, "You know what? I've been using this my whole life, and I didn't even realize what I was doing. This is real. It's absolutely real. But what it requires for you to make this work is a complete rewiring of your whole brain. Everything's got to change. You know, from the time we're born, or, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. This, you know, you're just a piece of whatever, you know, whatever. You're nothing. You're crap. You're this, you're that. And we have all this pounded into us. So by the time we reach adulthood, we're like, oh my God, I can't do anything. I'm just a waste of time. And it's not that way at all. The ancient Egyptians had a saying, and I've got it on my phone. I see it every day when I pick up my phone. You are who you think you are. And that is a very deep statement. Absolutely. You are absolutely who you think you are. If you go into anything thinking, oh, I can't do that, I can't do, you know what? You're absolutely right. You can't, because you believe that you can't. If you go in thinking, I got this by the tail, I'm going to go in and kick ass, man. I'm going to, you know, I was thinking about it before we went on to this show today. I mean, I'm a old radio guy. We talked about this. I'm used to interviewing. I've interviewed celebrity Paul Revere in the radio. I've interviewed all kinds of people, Shania Twain, all kinds of stuff. You name Weird Al. I'm used to being the guy. I'm used to being the guy on your microphone doing the talk, doing the interview. This is only like the 4th time I've ever been interviewed. So I was a little afraid to, you know, it's like, well, you know, what if I forget an answer or something, or what if this, but no, I sat down and I said, you know what, this show is going to be brilliant. It's going to be fantastic. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to talk good. I'm going to kick ass. And, you know, I mean, I believed I was going to have a good show. So as long as you are and you have to know this inside, it's not even a belief. It's a knowing. I call it a knowing. That's what it is. You just know, you know, and it's true. And it's absolute. And so we're going to talk all about that on the final 2 episodes of season 2, and how to get that to work for you.
Wow. I've met about over half the people that were on The Secret. It was really an interesting journey.
Oh, that would be cool, because there were some great people on that show. Yeah. Watch The Secret. If you haven't seen it, it's a movie, 2006, rent it, buy it, whatever you got to do. Probably get it on Amazon.
Yeah. It's worth your time to check out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's a few nuggets in there you might want to pick up. So,
yeah.
And then, of course, at next, not only watching my show, but you want to watch Mad Mark's show. And again, as we close out, how do they get a hold of you, and what's your show?
Okay, the easiest way to do it, because I don't have the links memorized to give you. I'm on YouTube. The show is on YouTube and on Spotify.
And it's called
Who Are the Aliens? The History of the Anunnaki on Planet Earth.
Okay.
You can access links to the YouTube and Spotify show through my website at www.madmarktv.com.
Okay.
There's all the links to my album is on there. Everything I've ever done is on that website. So you can find the links there, click on them. They'll take you to the show. Please like and subscribe. As you know, Walt, that's so important. Please.
It is
like
very, very, very
absolutely.
Important.
If
Likes
you want
even
the
make a big
content to
difference as well.
continue, you
Yep.
have to support it. That's
Yep.
all there is to it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And send me the links, and I'll put them on the. I'll put them at the.
I thought I did that already.
I don't believe you did. So
Okay.
send it again.
Okay.
And I'll throw them on at the bottom of the show, and you can check those out. So, wow. Okay, this is.
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm exploding right now on TikTok and Facebook, both. And I'm on LinkedIn, but that's more of a business type thing.
Business.
Yeah,
So,
they don't need
and
to
what's
go
your
there.
Facebook? What's your Facebook site page?
It's hang on, I didn't just go away from you, did I?
No, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, it's the same as the show. Who Are the Aliens? The History of the Anunnaki on Planet Earth. Yep.
Okay. So, go ahead and check Mark out. And again, on my shows, On Air with Walt, and I've got a website, onairwithwalt.com. And definitely like, share, and subscribe. So we need to get the word out, and it works and makes a big difference. We get a little momentum.
It really does. Absolutely.
It does. It doesn't cost a thing.
Nope.
It's all.
If you want this content to continue, you've got to support the people that you like what they're producing for you. You got to support them.
That's 100% true. So there you go. So again, guys, we're going to close out. But again, we've got a new sponsor. It's Retirement Fortress. If you are worried about your retirement, want to make sure you have the ability to retire and stay retired and beat Wall Street at their own game without all the headache, heartache, hassle, fees, speculation, and risk, check it out. And you can reach us directly at 888-999-9258. So, Mark, it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate
my pleasure. My pleasure.
And hopefully we'll connect up down the road and learn more about your journey. And you've given us some great homework, and look forward to more. So take care.
All right, Walt, I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye, everybody.